Well, last year was just the start. I was getting to understand what the WTM means and how Sierra Leone can take advantage of this very vast platform to showcase its tourism offerings and products. And I realized that this year there's a stark contrast because it's given us a huge platform to actually showcase who we are as a country and what we have to offer. So definitely there's been a transformation, from WTM last year to this year's WTM. I've even realized that following the records of from visitors, the statistics, we've more or less doubled what we had last year in terms of us making what we call the partnerships that we need to help to promote the destination here in the UK. I've also realized that most of our tour operators from the private sector have secured very firm partnerships with travel agents and DMCs established here in the UK.
In terms of the knowledge of the country, do you think that there's been an appreciation of what Sierra Leone represents, tourism, draws?
I feel so because what we implemented, as a ministry is a Tourism for All campaign, which is a year-long campaign that seeks to inform the general public in Sierra Leone and outside Sierra Leone about Sierra Leone's tourism offerings and products. And we just didn't limit it to what people know about, which is our lovely beaches, as you can see, from the picture behind you. But we also use the opportunity to share information about our wildlife, information about our rich historical and cultural heritage, and some more information about the people. We also shared with them what we're doing about, having sustainable tourism embedded in our approach. You may know that Sierra Leone is an emerging destination.
Yes.
And in 2018, His Excellency the President put it at the center of his development trajectory. And therefore, we're quite new in the game. But again, what is a huge advantage to us is that we're leaning on the expertise of several other African countries. And it's quite interesting to see how we're playing catch up, but in a way where Sierra Leone is complementing the efforts of other countries, because everywhere is unique in its own way. And we want to come into the space as a country that provides a different and a unique experience rather than competing with other countries who have been in the landscape for so long.
Okay, now let's look at the state of tourism. When you took over and you were a year and barely 2 months, from what you see now, what do you think that the government, which is led by yourself in terms of the portfolio, can do or is doing to ameliorate or create that conducive pathway for private sector to participate in tourism?
The good thing is that when we started off, based on I did a scoping, and I realized that the private sector is integral to the production of or the promotion of tourism in Sierra Leone. And I've always been harping on about having a private sector driven industry. And this is a message I've taken to government. So government does understand that tourism is generally private sector led if it is to be a successful industry. And again, we need to create the enabling environment for the sector to thrive, as well as the private sector to be able to lead effectively. So we have had these conversations with government. We have had, through the Tourism for All campaign, creating partnerships, not just with the private sector, but partnership across government entities. So let's say, for example, we've mapped out our tourism development areas and tourism development zones, and certain essential services such as electricity and water and good roads are needed. These are conversations we're having at that government level. The good thing as well is that there's an increased appetite within the government structure to support tourism because of the positioning it has in the National Development Plan. Tourism is the critical enabler to the Big Five, and therefore it comes with a weight of responsibility, and that also requires the sector to perform exceptionally so that we can really get our entire drive in terms of national development. So government is definitely supportive of what we're doing. This year they have increased budgetary allocation, and we feel that there will be an increase in budgetary allocation as we move on, because there are a couple of things that we're doing as well.
Yes.
This year alone, we launched the 24-bedroom hospitality facility. We also did a training of 800 women. They graduated this year. We also launched our 10-year national strategic plan. And last month, you were aware, you were part of the first Women in Tourism regional congress.
We want to talk about that. And how is that forming? Because we know for the WTLAC, and which you chair, how is that conference forming a nucleus of how you want to put women at the center? And yesterday's event at the Ministerial Summit, you still mention how technology and AI is being considered to enhance the consumption of tourism in Sierra Leone.
First of all, I feel extremely gratified and honored to lead the Women in Tourism Leadership African Committee. And again, it puts a huge responsibility on Sierra Leone's shoulders in terms of us taking the conversation forward and having that level of impact. That majority of the workforce of women, of the tourism workforce, are women. About 70% are women within the African continent. And for us to accelerate progress on the SDGs, the tourism sector is one sector that can help us achieve that. But we also realize that the space is restricted, it's limited, because most of these women perform in the rural areas and they're part of the creative economy. So WTLAC is not only advocating by creating avenues for these women to showcase what they produce or sharpen their skills by using AI-assisted tools, but we're also using the WTLAC platform to have some deeper engagement with governments within the continent to increase allocation to the tourism sectors within the several countries. We're hoping that eventually we'll come up with an agenda item that will be considered by member states to ensure that there is the attention that needs to be paid to the women in tourism within the entire African continent is given.
Finally, 2025, Salone, like you say, what should we expect? Tourism development, products. What is in for the traveler, the tourist, the business person who wanting to visit Sierra Leone?
The good thing is that Sierra Leone has a lot to offer. It's an emerging destination. And as I was discussing earlier on with one of my colleagues, I said we've got the benefit of learning from other countries. So we believe that this value of expertise that is at our disposal will be able to minimize the mistakes that we have made. And looking at the current trajectory, walking into a space where sustainable and regenerative tourism is key. We're thinking of having a year-long campaign again, but this one will be focusing on ecotourism and handling environmental issues and climate change. So the entire year will be going very robustly, having a robust campaign as to how we can promote our ecotourism products in Sierra Leone, and everything around that will be focusing on it. So we've realized again that in terms of investment, there's been an increase. With the private sector, there are a couple of hotels that have sprung up. We have about a 100-bedroom hotel, which should be commissioned, I believe, early next year. We also have a state-of-the-art nightclub and entertainment facilities that's also springing up in one of our tourism development areas. There is an appetite as well from investors, local as well as international, to invest into these areas, looking at energy solutions, looking also at waste management. So our first and foremost focus would be continuing, to share what Sierra Leone has, continuing to let people understand that this is what Sierra Leone stands for, as well as ensuring that the environment is conducive for people to invest. So we're going to continue on this. We'll be participating in trade events like these. We'll be going on road shows. Staff will be going on road shows. We'll be continuing this, what I would say, a robust campaign on social media and talking to people like you to share what Sierra Leone has to offer.
In 30 seconds, why should someone visit Sierra Leone?
Why should someone visit Sierra Leone? Because Sierra Leone has a very rich cultural heritage. It's got a rich history as well, and it's got beautiful people. So if you really want to experience a lifetime, you want to have a lifetime experience of immersing yourself into natural beauty and the wonders of, the entire world, visit Sierra Leone and enjoy what we have to offer. The people, the beauty, the landscape, and the food. It's there for you. And the fashion.
Thank you so much, Minister.